everybody, it's Kristin. So for my next 4 looks 1 palette, I wanted to do one right away for you guys since this palette is limited edition, and it is the Smashbox Wonder Vision palette. This sells for $49 at Ulta, and it is a limited edition palette. We'll talk about more of it at the end after I've used it for the next 4 days, but I will go ahead and get into the look. I can tell you I'm going to love this palette, I just know it. But let's get into the look right now. So I used this, mostly this 3rd row today, but some from this row as well. So the first color that I used is this right here on the inner 3rd, and that color is Citrine. And then on my middle 3rd, I used orange, and then I used red on the outer 3rd. I took a fluffier brush and I used almond, which is right here, to soften out the crease and transition up. I took a little more pointed brush. This is from Makeup Geek. I don't know what this is called, but it's a very small, there's no name on it, but it's a very small brush. And I took the chocolate color right here, and I used that just kind of in the inner, or in the inner outer V, if that makes sense. You'll see that when I scroll, or when I zoom in. And I also took that chocolate underneath my eye, and then softened it out just a little bit with the red as well. So let me zoom you in and then I'll talk about the rest of it. Okay, so here's the look. Very fall appropriate, I would say. Okay, on the rest of my eyes, I used the Jordana 12-Hour Made to Last in Espresso Last, number 20. I used that top line smudged in and then waterline. And then for my blush today, I started out with this one right here, which is baby pink. And that was just, it just wasn't enough color for what I was looking for, so I just topped it a little bit with this sherbet. Just a little bit. And throughout the week, I will be using the bronze as my bronzer and NYX taupe as my contour. For my lips today, I have the Too Faced Perfect Lip liner all over, and then I have the Chanel Rouge Coco Shine in number 48 Evasion, I think is how you say it, over top. So today's look I took from what's going to look like the top to you, but the bottom of the palette. It was this row right here. I did kind of attempt to use one of their cards. I didn't love the plan that, that it had, so I kind of did my own thing. I took gray, which is this matte gray color, and I kind of pretty much just washed that over my lid and into the crease. I took slate, which is this kind of very silvery taupey color, over top of that, not all the way into the crease, but kind of over top of that on my lid, which is part of what the card said to do. And then I took this color here, which is brown, but it's a glittery kind of brown in the pan. It wasn't as glittery on the lid. And I took that into the outer corner and just pulled into the crease a little bit more, like an outer V, than covering that whole outer 3rd. And then they told you to use this color here, just pewter on the lash line. I did that a little bit just to kind of see what it would look like, and it didn't show up at all. So I just went over one and I used glitz. And I used that on the outer, or that as a, like a liner on my, spit it out, like a liner on my upper lash line. And then kind of pulled it up a little, not into a winged, but you know, that shape-ish. Okay, so I'll zoom you in and then we'll talk about the rest. Okay, so here's the look, and this is not a normal look for me, that is for sure. Okay, then on the rest of my face, I put this blush down first, which is Glow. And I knew that it had shimmer in it. I put that down first. And I've done this before, I've talked about this before. Sometimes I'll put a blush with some sheen down first and then a matte on top of it. Sometimes I prefer that to the other way around. And then I put a little bit of the baby pink over top of that. And on my lips today, I have the Power Pigment from Tarte in Awakening, which looks like this. I've talked about this before. This came in one of their most recent kits before the holidays. And then over top I used MAC's See-Through just to tone it down just a little bit. And then all I did for liner was Tightline, and I used the Jordana 12-Hour Made to Last. For the 3rd look, I kind of did a teal green kind of crazy eye. Crazy for me anyway. So the first color that I used just all over my lid was Maize, which is right here. Hopefully that's showing up true. And then in my crease, I used Mint, which is not really mint at all in my opinion, but it's called mint. It's kind of a dirty mint. So I used that in my crease with a fluffy brush. And then on the outer V, and then pulled in a little bit, I used this color, which is turquoise. And then below my lash line, I used this color, which is green. They're not the most creative names known to man. Simple, straight to the point. And then I will zoom you in and then we'll come back and talk about what's on the rest. Okay, so here's the look. Okay, so for eyeliner today, I actually used a gel liner, which I don't normally, but I was kind of looking for that different kind of blue color. This is from a collection, I think, of some sort, but it's from MAC. It's called Midnight Blues, but it kind of has that deep teal kind of look to it. And I used that on my upper lash line, upper waterline, lower waterline, and just on the very outer edge of my lower lash line. And for blush today, I used Illamasqua's Naked Rose. If I can get it open for you. Which looks like that. And then on my lips today, I used a Tarte Lip Surgeons, and this is the one in Glitzy. So it looks like that. For my last look today, I did kind of a purple look, which was the last one of the rose, really, as I didn't use like just these neutrals for a look, because that's something I would do every day. So trying to branch out a little bit. So today I used Slate all over my lid, and I had used that one before, but I was wanting to do a purple look, but didn't like any of the other ones for my base color. So in the crease, I used Violet, just to kind of transition up a little bit. I did take a little bit of, what is this one? Chestnut right here to help with that transition. And then I have purple right here, and the outer corner pulled into the crease. I have to say what I like about these shades, that being the purple and the glitz, which is here, and the brown. It's even though they have some sparkles, you don't see that when you apply it to the lid. It really actually performs more like a matte, and I like that. And then I used that same purple down underneath my lash line. I'll zoom you in and then I will tell you about what's on the rest of my face. Okay, so here is the look. And the lighting is different today, by the way, because it's daytime. I am off today, headed to a youth gathering, and had the opportunity to use some daylight, so I took advantage. On my upper lash line, I have the Urban Decay pencil in Ransom. And then I just lined my upper waterline, or tight lined, with Jordana 12 Hour Made to Last in Black Point. And on my cheeks today, I took a combination, dipped them both on my brush, of these two right here, which are Sherbet and Glow. And I just stuck my finger in that blush. And on my lips, I have this Smashbox. This is a lip enhancing, I think. Yes, Lip Enhancing Gloss in Fame. I really like this one. Okay, so I'm going to show you swatches of each of the rows together. So this is the first row. Obviously, this is going to be from left to right in the palette. This is the next row, left to right. Not sure why I can't seem to get those in a straight line, but you know. So this is the next. This is the green and the blue row. That's a little better. That's the purple row. And then that is the gray, kind of pewtery black row, the bottom row. Okay, here are the blush, and this is the bronzer. And then there are those swatches. This is the top one, that middle sherbet, the glow, and then the bronzer, which I did not blend out very well. Okay, so just to reiterate, this is what the palette looks like when you're looking for it in store. It won't look like this, which is what you've seen me hold up before. It looks like this in store. This is sold at Ulta only, to my knowledge, and is $49. Okay, when you pull it out, this is what it looks like. There is some decent heft to this palette, which I like for traveling. I feel safe traveling. As I said, I'm leaving for the weekend, and this is what I'm taking with me. I'm not taking anything else with me. Maybe a different blush. We'll see. But anyway, so this palette, when you open it up, has trying to see how I can show you. You know, it has the little plastic sheet that gives you the names of the shadows. I don't know that I necessarily will keep that going forward. I kept it to show you guys, you know, as I was going, or make sure that I told you what color, but that's how it fits on there. Not sure that's important, but I'm showing you anyway. So the palette has a very nice mirror on it right here. That what I like is that when you go like this, it stands open, which it stays open, which I really like. If I'm traveling, I want a mirror that's going to stay open, and usually I use a hand mirror and I have to hold it. So this is very, very, very nice. And the shadows are, so moving on to the shadows, they are fantastic. I find they're a little bit powdery if you go crazy, like dipping your brush in there. The matte ones can be a little bit powdery, but if you're placing your brush in there, not like going crazy, it's just fine. But I think that you might find it the matte's a little bit more powdery to some higher end foundation or higher end shadows, but I have no problem with that. So up in this, you know, right hand side of the mirror, there's a little plastic pocket, and in the plastic pocket there are 4 cards, and these are supposed to help you get different looks. So there's a Wonder Vision color look, smoldering eye look, soft cat eye look, and drop shadow look. So what you do with these is you're supposed to be able to put them on any shadows that you would like that, and then follow the instructions, or like that, and then follow the instructions, or to get any of those looks with different colored eyeshadows. I think that's really neat. As I mentioned, I did do that for one of the looks, and I kind of liked it, but you know, I think we all like to be, you know, as creative as we can on our own, but it certainly is great for starting out. My only complaint about this palette is with the placement, and this is just my deal, but you know, my only complaint, I have one, so I'm going to tell you. It's the placement of the bronzer, which is right next to this, and I don't know how else they would have done it, but a couple of times, when you know how you're putting I'm grabbing a brush, so say I'm using this, and you're putting your brush in there, and you're trying not to pay attention, or you're paying attention to your face and not necessarily maybe exactly where you're placing your brush. A couple of times I had to kind of start over because I got black on my face. So that's just something of note to pay attention to if you get this palette and you're using it. I will literally put my hand, I'm not sure how to show you this, but I'll put this hand over this so that I'm getting just that. And a couple of times I even got blush on it. So kind of depends on the brush you're using and that sort of thing, but that's really my only complaint, and not enough to stop me from getting it. I would absolutely repurchase this palette. That's one of the things I like to think about when I get to the end of a 4 Looks 1 palette is this something, now that I've played with it for a while, would I, you know, going back, would I repurchase it? And I absolutely would. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them below. And again, this is available, as far as I know, only at Ulta. I don't even think it's available on Smashbox's website. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you're having a great day, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye!